Hello and welcome to my gaming experience. I'm Sword Rush, and this is Mario Odyssey, the successor to Mario Galaxy and Mario 64, which are both supposed to be really great games. I never played Galaxy, but I did play 64 a lot. It's one of my favorite games of all time. So I was kind of excited to at least try this game, or, sort of watch it get played and everything. And see what I thought about it, especially because it has been reviewed very well by other people. And I think it's important. So first, what I want to do is kind of put this in context, because there is a lot of reasons to like this game. And it seems like... Oh, gosh. Sorry, this is actually the hardest part of the game. Supposedly, it's supposed to be the hardest part, and I'm kind of not paying close enough attention. Okay, so we'll try that again, though. So we want to put this in context of Mario games in general, because when I play a lot of games, I play some of the hardest platforming games. Hyper Light Drifter, Cuphead, that sort of stuff. Those are really hard platforming, bullet hell type games. I guess Hyper Light Drifter isn't exactly a platformer, but it does have a sense of, nostalgic similarity. So, but in any case, Mario games aren't necessarily meant to be the hardest games possible. So it can seem a little... I can judge games a little harshly sometimes because they're not always as difficult as I'd like them to be, because I enjoy difficult games, or at least games that test, my button finesse abilities, I guess. And so I don't want to be unfairly critical of this game, but I do think that in a way it is often that this game was maybe reviewed a little higher than normal, just because it's kind of Nintendo, and this is the first sort of Mario-esque game. I mean, this is the first Mario game for the Switch, so I think it got rated really highly. When I don't know, I guess maybe critically speaking, it probably should have rated a little bit lower than what it was given. Oh, crap. Dang. Well, let's try it again. But I don't want to be unfair. So, as far as comparing... So, most people compare this game to... Or at least I keep hearing people compare this game to Super Mario 64. And I think that there are a lot of similarities. Namely that a lot of the controls are really the same, and you're still going around collecting coins, and you're collecting, sort of stars. In this game, they're actually moons, which was a little bothersome to me. I don't know why they decided to switch to moons. It doesn't go without precedent, because there are some moons in Super Mario World, but I wasn't exactly sure what the point was, why that necessarily was needed to be changed. Because you want to make it unique, but I don't know that they made a good enough connection for a reason for why it needed to be moons. Anyway, and all the enemies are the same, but they're kind of all the same between every game, so I don't know that necessarily says anything either. But honestly, as far as level design goes, this game is somewhat similar to Super Mario 64. Each of the levels are unique in the sense that, it's not like there's multiple desert levels or something. But it isn't unique to Mario exactly. Like, they do all of these types of levels anyway. So it's really, I don't know. Oh. Sorry, I'm also concentrating on this because I want to move past this point. There are lots of similarities, but I think that there's a lot of differences as well between this game and other Mario games, just because, or specifically Super Mario 64, just because the levels in Super Mario 64 were designed very well. Outside of the graphics for the game, that game is a classic to me. It's basically a masterpiece because of its level design and its game mechanics. And it did, yeah, the graphics were bad and everything, but they did something that felt very unique because, I guess there was no 3D platforming at the time that it was made, but they did the 3D platforming so well. It's just amazing how well they were able to do the 3D platforming despite there being no other games that had done it yet. So that's really amazing. But this game has tons and tons and tons of different examples prior to this that they could have drawn from, and it didn't seem like they really drew from much of anything. Most of the levels in this game, they're meant to seem outwardly like Super Mario 64 games, or Super Mario 64 levels, but I felt like they were much too big, in the sense that there was a lot of area to cover, but there wasn't a whole lot in that area to do, necessarily. And in that sense, I feel like Super Mario 64 did it really well by shoving so much into so little space. Whereas this one left a bunch of empty space to make it look bigger, but it really didn't add much to that space. So that's very unfortunate. That being said, they have added the cap mechanics to the game, and I really like that. I really like what the cap adds to the game, and being able to, instead of getting fire flower, now there's some flowers in the game, but oh crap, I almost missed that. That was really close. I like that you can just basically gain other enemies' abilities whenever you want. You just take them over with your cap, and that's really cool. I liked that in essence. It adds some kind of weird aspects and makes you ask some weird questions like, am I stealing this creature's free will? Which I don't know that you necessarily wanted to start asking in a Mario game, but it's there, so there's no going back now. Sorry, this is a timed area, so I have to. It's about to close in on me. So, like I said, this is the hardest part of the game, and I want to be sure. Oh yeah, and then there's rolling. I didn't actually really use rolling all that much. I guess it was slightly faster, but then there's also this guy who, he's not an enemy. He's just a weird, cute lizard thing that you could fly. But despite the cat mechanics and being able to take over enemies, there's some enemies that you can't take over, like these mosquitoes, for no reason. I could understand not being able to take over bosses, but why not these mosquitoes or something? It's I guess there was just too much potential for abusing some of the creatures in this game that they had to make it so that you couldn't take over literally everything. But I would have rather them just figured out a way around it instead. So I don't know. I guess there's some downsides to this cat mechanic, but that's okay. I still like it a lot. I think it gives a lot of flavor to the game. But comparative to Super Mario 64, going back to that again, a major difference between this game and the other game is that there's no really learning curve in this game. And that may be a good thing, that may be a bad thing. It's hard to say exactly, because really there's sorry. Oh crap, I did it. I've screwed up. This guy's like a real ton. Oh, crap. I'm going to get pummeled by this silly thing. Oh, God. Come on. Ah, there we go. Okay, sorry. There's no learning curve. Mario 64 did a really, really nice learning curve. It was really easy. I mean, it taught you everything that you needed to know about the game in the first few levels. And then after that, it gave you lots of different levels to choose from. You could get your stars in Super Mario 64 however you wanted, in whatever order you wanted. You do virtually any of those stars in any order. Whereas this game, it pushes you on a particular path. In a single world, you could choose which moons that you can get, which is actually really funny because then it allows you to actually kind of skip over a bunch of bosses, I think. I haven't actually gone back because I've beaten the game completely. I have all the moons. I guess I don't have literally everything. I'm missing a few things, but I have all the moons in this game, which allow me to go to the final battle. But in each world, you have to do the worlds in a particular order, whereas in Super Mario 64, you could do the worlds in any order that you wanted to. So I think that kind of bummed me out a little bit because I really wanted to just do whichever world I wanted to in whatever order I wanted to do it in. Oh, crap. Oh, I really hate that. So that lack of path control bothers me a whole lot. And there's also some weird design aspects, some things that they try to add that I guess to give this game flavor. But this flavor, so the thing is that flavor really needs to add to a game. If it doesn't, then it's going to take away. It does one or the other. It's very rare to have some kind of artistic style to a game, and it neither add nor subtract from the game. And I think that they added humans to this game, and they don't look like Mario, and that really took away from it, for me anyway. They look awkward. They make Mario look even more awkward. I don't know. It seemed like they should have done something different there. And they also didn't conclude all of the different bosses that we've seen in other games, like no bob-bombs, really. Like, they have a kind of bomb-type monster, but it's tied specifically to the cat mechanics, which means that they could really only include it in certain levels. I don't know. They could have done some of those things, added some of those bosses better. Especially because the main bosses in this game are rabbits, which that made really no sense. That was the one artistic thing that, if I could go back and change, I would change that, because the rabbits made no sense to me. At least, the rabbits made no sense to me in the ways that they added them. So, it's not that rabbits don't have a precedent in Mario games. Like I said, Super Mario 64 has rabbits in it. Like, you have to catch rabbits to get stars, for some of the stars to get 100%. So that's okay. That part is okay. And in fact, I think that rabbits can make a really interesting Mario opponent, because Mario jumps really high, rabbits jump really high. It kind of seems like it should be a natural thing between the two of them. But in this case, they just look like really hideous, boring bosses that are honestly super easy to beat. And some people, I guess I should... That's one thing that we have to talk about. So this game, as opposed to Super Mario 64, Super Mario 64 was meant to be played by everybody, but in, the 90s or whenever it came out, I guess 96 or something like that. When it came out, I think people were a little bit more accustomed to platforming gaming, and so people were really prepared to be able to play Super Mario 64. But now, there aren't a lot of people who are just constantly playing platforming games. People are playing all sorts of different kinds of games. And one of them, a major one being first-person shooters, are very, very popular still. And they are not platformers at all. So they're vastly different. So people aren't really prepared for platformers. So this game is actually really And in terms of an experienced platformer, this game is not your game. This game is really easy. I pretty much beat the game casually. I wasn't even trying, and I'd stumble across pretty much every moon. Like, when I went back to go get moons, I pretty much had, like, half of them already, where I didn't have to, like, really try very hard to get 100% of every single moon in the game. There's only a few cases where moons were difficult to get, and the ones that were difficult to get were difficult because of controller problems or camera problems, rather than actually being platformingly difficult. Which is unfortunate, because I think that we don't do very many hard platforming games anymore. So that kind of disappointed me, but at the same time, this game is really good for people who haven't done platformers, who don't know the strategies for beating them, who haven't tried, that need to be eased into it, and that's okay. It's okay to have some games like that. So I think that they made this game enjoyable anyway, and I think it can be very fun to play. It just is not. It's not going to be difficult. And so if you're going into this game expecting it to be difficult, it's not going to be, and you're going to be very, very disappointed. And I guess I wasn't necessarily expecting this game to be difficult, and that's where we get into context. You know, like, Mario games haven't ever meant to be really, or at least for a long time, haven't been meant to be the most difficult platforming games. And so I'm kind of okay with that. I didn't expect it to be the most challenging game that I've ever played, but I did think this was a bit easier than I was expecting. I was expecting a little bit more. I was expecting, like, nods to players in some areas that would be a little bit harder. That the basic game in general would be fairly easy, but that there would be some nods to harder, like, players that knew what they were doing and wanted a bit more of a challenge. But really, this is the only challenge in the game in terms of platforming, and it's really not all that hard. I mean, I'm talking while I'm playing it, which typically shouldn't be possible, but yeah, it's just way too easy. This is all based on practice. It's not. I mean, I haven't really done this area like 100,000 times or something like that. This is, this is probably within the first 100 times that I've done this, maybe even like 60 times. Too bad, lizard. So it's really not that hard, unfortunately. And like I said, I don't want to be necessarily saddened by that, and I don't want to discourage people from thinking that they shouldn't try this game. They should try this game. It's an enjoyable game. Just don't come in expecting something really, really interesting, because these environments are really cool, and the enemies that they've added, there's some interesting enemies, but like not all the enemies are really all that interesting. Not all of the, basically virtually all of the platforming aspects are going to be way too simple to challenge you. You don't want to come in expecting that you're going to be challenged in virtually any way. But don't entirely knock it. Just know what you're getting into, really. I like that they added, well, I guess it's not necessarily added. There's a lot of good environments. They did a good job portraying a lot of these places. And giving them flavor that meant something. Like these guys are really cool. These guys are in a Japanese type area with Bowser. And I think that they did a good job with that, but oh my gosh, I'm actually getting there. Holy crap. I don't normally get all the way up there. That's actually probably the most difficult part of this area. So now we get into Donkey Kong, which this is another aspect of the game. I was hoping to get this far, because this is really cool. They did a really good job on this. This is a part that I really, really liked. And that's that they added this sort of classic feel to some of the game, and that they did. There's a lot of cool things that they did with this part. So, because like I said, it's not. It's almost like it should be a regular, like an original Mario style game, but it's been fitted into here, and there's a bunch of different areas where those things will be on sides of walls, and I don't know. They are fun, but we are getting to. I don't know how far I'm going to get into this part of it. Oh gosh, I'm already kind of running really high on time here. I did want to say another disappointing thing about this game is that when you do get past some of these more difficult parts, the rewards for doing so are almost non-existent. Like, I did not feel like I was adequately rewarded, like that I felt like the game gave me something good for having completed things. Like I said, I got all of the moons in the game, and despite having all of the moons, the thing you get is a slightly more challenging boss battle with Bowser, but that battle it took me a couple tries and I was done with it, and that was it. There was like, there wasn't like an extra congratulations for having gotten basically every item in the game and every soundtrack in the game and all this sort of stuff. It's kind of lazy. I felt like I spent a lot of time for nothing, and like the end of this one, the only thing that this gives you is it gives you some more moons. Like, that's it. Yay, thank you for spending so much time completing our game. Here's something almost completely useless. And that was kind of the thing that bothered me too. See, it says thank you. Is that they sort of undercut themselves too much with the coins and the moons. And so, like, you have to get every specific moon to unlock that Bowser battle, but once you unlock that Bowser battle and realize that it means almost nothing, like it doesn't give you an extra congratulations or anything, then it makes moons seem really useless, and the challenge of getting all of them kind of, I don't know, anticlimactic, really. Especially when you realize that to get to this particular area, you have to get 500 moons to get to this area. At least, if I remember correctly, it's 500. You can buy those moons with gold, and you get more gold than bloody Scrooge McDuck. So, like, why should you go through the process of doing all of that just to come here and get more moons, I just wish there had been something else, like, I guess you get an invisibility cap, so you can make the game maybe slightly more challenging on yourself if you really feel like it, but after beating this game, I really don't feel like I will ever return to this game. Versus Super Mario 64, I will always return to Super Mario 64. Because I felt like the reward, that I felt like I was actually being rewarded adequately for doing stuff. So I don't know. It's unfortunate that this is all this game has, that there wasn't more to it. But it is what it is. You can still enjoy this game a lot without worrying about all of this game design stuff. So I don't want you to think that I won't recommend this game. It's just that I won't recommend this game to everybody. There'll be people who will be able to enjoy this game a whole lot more than other people will. Because, like, I could have enjoyed this game a whole lot more if there were different aspects added to it. changes to the design in some cases, but other people it won't really matter. So it's a Mario game. It has a lot of good environments. It covers the source material. You know, like there's. I was really hoping that there would be a lot more actual Odyssey-esque stuff to it. You know, like Odyssey by Homer or whoever it is that wrote that ancient script. I wish there was a little bit more of it to it. You know, more of that to this game, but there wasn't. But that did make me excited to play it. It made me want to play it more because I thought that it was going to have that stuff to it. So I don't know. Take it with what you will. Like I said, there's a lot of good reviews for the game, and I'm not giving this game a bad review. I'm just giving it a meh. There could have been more. So thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoyed watching me be able to get past this supposedly fairly difficult area. And I will see you guys next time.